All right. Let's see what we got here. Greg at Another Bibliophile reads James Ricotta at Quaint and Curious Volumes. Joseph Hicks from, I think it's Joe's Book and Movie Corner, but I'm not sure. His channel's great, though. I'll link to it down below in the description, so you'll definitely want to check out his channel because it's really, really good. Mark from Book Time with Elvis. Michael K. Vaughn, the legendary Michael K. Vaughn, and Roy Reads Anything. And me. What does this mysterious team of crime fighters have in common? That's the question. And the answer, of course, is Haggard January, which I'm going to get into in a minute. But first, I want to introduce myself. I'm Randy Ray. This is The Literate Texan. This is a channel where we're chasing down the great stories of literature. So, yeah, I don't care if it's Shakespeare or Star Trek. If it's great literature, we're going to read it. And, we're not snobs here. And I think from Shakespeare to Star Trek sums it up. I read a lot of Star Trek books in the summer, but I read Shakespeare year round. And I hope you do too. But in January, we're going to have an event where we're going to read H. Rider Haggard, the works of H. Rider Haggard. And those were my co-hosts that I listed for you a moment ago. That list of names, they will be in the description below. And I do encourage you to subscribe to all their channels because they're the most terrific, intelligent people that I've ever met on YouTube. They're absolutely terrific, okay? So what we've got going on here is what is Haggard January? So I'm working from a script these days. I have a new boss. My channel got bought by a corporation, and so things are a little different. But yeah, you'll notice I'm reading from a script these days. So what is Haggard January? This is straight out of the script, folks. Haggard January is a new month-long reading event dedicated to adventure's godfather or grandfather, H. Rider Haggard. I like to call H. Rider Haggard the godfather of the adventure novel or the grandfather of the adventure novel. Because that's basically what he is. He more or less invented what we consider the modern adventure novel. And when I'm talking about the modern adventure novel, I'm talking about things like, certainly older than this, but, I've got to segue into an anecdote here, okay? So H. Rider Haggard worked for the British government in colonial Africa as a clerk and just loved Africa, loved listening to the stories and learning over there while he was there. And eventually he had to come back to the United States, back to the United Kingdom and figure out how to make a living because his African adventures had dried up. And so he decided he'd like to write adventure stories about Africa. And he wrote a couple of novels. They didn't do well. And he was having lunch with his brother one day, and his brother, like everybody else, was really excited about a new book that just hit shelves called Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson. And he told his brother, H. Rider Haggard's brother, told him, he said, look, man, if you could write something like this, you'd really be onto something. This is what we need. I bet you $100 you can't write a book that's more exciting than Treasure Island. And what did we get for the results of that bet? We got a novel called King Solomon's Mines by H. Rider Haggard, which for my money is maybe the greatest adventure novel of all time. I don't know. It's definitely up there with, say, The Hobbit, for example, which is another great example of an adventure novel. But yeah, so that's how we got King Solomon's Mines. And literally, King Solomon's Mines is about a trio of adventurers who go to Africa in search of the legendary King Solomon's Mines. And I'm not going to spoil whether or not they find it or not, but I'll just say it'd be a lot less interesting novel if they didn't find King Solomon's Mines, right? But I did want to give a couple other examples of his works too. He's written over 60 novels, but one of his other works that's real famous is called She, which is short for She Who Must Be Obeyed, which is a nickname that the main character Aisha in this novel shares with my ex-wife. People wonder why I have an ex-wife. And my nickname for her might have something to do with that, but I don't know for sure. But at any rate, She is a really great book too. And even though it's an adventure novel, it couldn't be too much more different from the previous novel that we just talked about, King Solomon's Mines. In this one, you've got a 2,000-year-old sorceress who is a queen and a witch in charge of about 2,000 people in a volcano. She lives in a volcano. So yeah, she's potentially immortal. She lives in a volcano, and anyway, the book's fascinating. There's reincarnation. There's questions about life and death and the nature of mortality and immortality. She is definitely worth reading. I don't know. I may have liked it better than King Solomon's Mines, in fact, although I love both books dearly. And then those are just two examples that I wanted to give. The third example I have on my list here is called Eric Bright Eyes. Eric Bright Eyes is a Viking novel, and I just included it as an example of H. Rider Haggard's incredible range, because he didn't just write novels set in the African jungles. I mean, that's cool if that's your thing, but that's not the only kind of novel that he wrote. So, yeah, with over 60 novels to choose from, I'm sure you can find something interesting to read during Haggard January. Okay, so that's some context about Haggard January. And then let's see here. What does this say here? Directly influenced. Okay, so H. Rider Haggard's a pretty big deal. You may not have heard of him, but he's a pretty big deal, okay? He directly influenced the following authors and books. And some of these are going to surprise you, some of them not so much. At the top of the list, Sherlock Holmes. That's a character by Arthur Conan Doyle. They were contemporaries. They were writing at the same time, H. Rider Haggard and Arthur Conan Doyle. I don't know what, if any, kind of personal relationship they had, but they were definitely peers in the literary world at the time. Edgar Rice Burroughs is also listed as one of his influences. Edgar Rice Burroughs came a little bit later than did Haggard, but not too much later. I mean, maybe 20 years later. But yeah, there would not have been Tarzan the Ape Man if there hadn't been H. Rider Haggard and the King Solomon's Mines first. Let's see what's next on the list here. It says, I can't read this. Indiana Jones. Yep. Indiana Jones. He's about as Alan Quartermain as you get without being Alan Quartermain, right? And let's see what else is on here. Tolkien, J.R.R. Tolkien. Okay, that's interesting. A lot of people don't realize this, but Tolkien was actually a huge fan of H. Rider Haggard. And the novel She, was one of Tolkien's favorite novels. And I think that part of the reason was because Tolkien really enjoyed having the really in-depth backstory for Middle-earth. And you get that same kind of backstory in the works of H. Rider Haggard. You get the impression, I don't remember where I read this, but this isn't original, I didn't think of this myself, but you get the impression that the city in the novel She was built on the ruins of another city, which was built on the ruins of yet another city. That, that there's a tremendous amount of history that's way beyond anything we could imagine. And Tolkien, of course, loved that idea of having this history in the past and stuff. So those are some of the people that he influenced. I don't know why Haggard has become relatively forgotten compared to those, but I'm hoping that Haggard January is an event that will bring him back to a certain amount of prominence. But yeah, he wrote all kinds of stuff too. Mostly he wrote adventure novels and multiple series. They're fast, they're fun, they're adventurous. When I say wrote multiple series, Alan Quartermain is an example of one of the series. And Alan Quartermain's a big game hunter, gets into adventures in Africa. She is one of his series. Aisha isn't just in the one book. She's in multiple books. I don't remember if it's because she's ruling multiple countries or not. I haven't read but the first one. It's the only Aisha novel that I've read. But then he also branched out and write historical fiction like Eric Bright Eyes, which is a novel about Viking warriors. And he wrote a lot more besides that too. He was really traditional. So we've got weekly reading prompts for this event, which become traditional. You don't have to read a book a week to participate in this event or to get your quote-unquote merit badge for this. If you read one book in the month and put the hashtag Haggard January in your comments, then you've participated, okay? And you can give yourself your little merit badge. So anyway, here's the prompts, okay? I think these are pretty cool, okay? And you can switch these around. You don't have to do them in the weeks that I mentioned. But week number 1, Classic Haggard African Adventure Series. Okay, so King Solomon's Mines would be the most obvious example of an adventure series in Africa with that classic H. Rider Haggard style. And then week 2, Haggard playing in different genres. So I've got the Delphi Complete H. Rider Haggard book, which is an ebook that you can buy from Delphi, and it's got all 60 of his novels in there. So that makes it real easy for me to find anything by him. There's a handful of works that are still under copyright protection, but that's okay. You know, I'll worry about those when I finish the other 55 or so novels in the book, okay? Week 3, works inspired by Haggard, but written by others. An example of this would be The Lost World by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I mean, that's obviously inspired by H. Rider Haggard. But that's certainly not the only thing that he inspired. There's also Green Mansions, a 1903 novel from W.H. Hudson, and The Face in the Abyss by A. Merritt. Now, I've never heard of that one. I want to read it. There's another book. Now, I swear, I don't know if this is a Mandela effect or what, but there was a book that I swear I used to have in my book collection called The Kings of the Hollow Men by H. Rider Haggard. Could have sworn it was there. But when I look into Wikipedia for the name of the book, or when I Google any information, ask ChatGPT, I cannot find any kind of mention of the King of the Hollow Men anywhere. So I don't know if I've just got the author's name wrong or if I've forgotten the title of the book. But if you know anything about the King of the Hollow Men, please let me know in the comments, because I'm trying to find a copy of it to have in my library. And, heads or tails, I don't even know. So, yeah, and then inspired by Haggard. Golly whiz, there's a lot of sirens going on out there today, too. So, and then modern authors that are inspired by Haggard include Jeff Vandermeer, who wrote a book called Annihilation in 2014. I didn't think that was a very good book, personally. Jeff Vandermeer, and he's not one of my favorite authors, but I mean, it gives you the idea of what kind of stuff we're looking at here in modern days. There's also a novel called Congo by Michael Crichton, which is older, but it's a Lost World novel set in African jungle, so the similarities are clear there. Michael Crichton, fun fact, the guy was 6'9", really tall guy. He also co-created ER, among other things. So let's see, what's to say here, number 7, can go. Oh, I can't even read this one. The River of something. You know what? I'm going to decipher this off the script, which was handwritten by my boss, which is why I can't read it. And I'm going to put that in the description below, too, after I've deciphered it a little bit. I'm sorry. I think most of y'all know my vision's starting to go, so I'm doing the best that I can, okay? So, this is where it gets really good, folks. Don't tune out yet. I mentioned prizes earlier, okay? So, in addition to keeping up with the reading prompts, which you might or might not want to do, we're having a friendly competition. There's absolutely no pressure here. This is just for fun. And it's also because there's just so many novels to choose from. But there's a friendly competition that we're hosting as part of the project, where the person who reads the most number of H. Rider Haggard novels in the month of January gets a prize. And the prize is really cool. It's a package of a dozen H. Rider Haggard themed bookmarks. And these are going to include unique artwork. I have a friend who's an artist that I correspond with regularly, and he'll be handling the artwork for that. This is going to be done on an honor system. The rules are as simple as they can be. Okay, at the beginning, you know, which is right around the corner. The event begins on January 1st. It's December 2nd now. But in the beginning, you're going to post your TBR in the comments to this thread here or to a new thread if that's what you want to do. You're going to update it as you finish books and include the names of the books as you finish them. And then eventually, when you finish for the month, you're going to say, that's it. Here's my recap. These are the books by H. Rider Haggard that I read this month. Once you've done that, okay, the person who's read the most books wins the bookmarks. And like I say, we're doing this on an honor system here. I don't think anybody in my audience is going to cheat over some H. Rider Haggard themed bookmarks. Although I may be giving some of my audience more credit than they deserve. Let me know what you think in the comments. Am I giving y'all too much credit here? So, what else have I got on here? Suspenseful tales, occult tales, lost worlds, ancient tombs, she. These are web prompts. These are prompts. These are more prompts for ideas for novels to read. Okay, so just, pick as many as you want. I really recommend that Delphi edition over at Amazon is a really affordable way to get most of these books. A lot of these books have been out of print for years and years, and you just can't get a decent copy of them anymore at all. So it would be fun to have old copies of them on paper. But yeah, it's just not very realistic, because a lot of these books are 100 years old. So what else have I got on this script here? I've already went over the rules for the contest. I also explained that it was fun. There's no pressure. This isn't meant to be a pressure cooker, okay? This is just meant to be fun. So don't stress out about your TBR. Don't stress out about what you're reading unless you want to. I mean, you stress out about it. You're entitled to feel any way you want to feel about it. That's what my therapist used to tell me anyway. So, and then how to practice, update, painless. Okay, yeah. This is supposed to be a painless event, okay? This isn't supposed to be a chore or a job or something that brings you down. And at any point, if it feels that way, that it's starting to be that way, just drop out altogether, okay? Or just read one book. You can read one H. Rider Haggard book, okay? I think you're going to really enjoy the author, though. I mean, he was a really pleasant surprise. I did not think I was going to like King Solomon's Mines, but I did. I did want to share my personal TBR for January. It's longish, but I'm going to devote most of January to nothing but this event. So here's my TBR for January, Haggard January. Number one is Alan's wife, which I don't know anything about it, but I'm assuming it's about Alan Quartermain's wife. Number two, The Ancient Alan. I don't know anything about it either, but it also probably has to do with Alan Quartermain, who's evidently gotten old. Number three on my list is She and Alan. And the She is the aforementioned Aisha that we mentioned. She has her own series of books, but she's also mentioned in the Alan Quartermain series too. They cross over. Number four on my list is Aisha, The Return of She. So yeah, there's I think 4 or 5 novels with Aisha in them. And then the Witch's Hearth, or The Witch's Heart. I don't know. It's a real early novel from him, but it looked really cool. I read some excerpts from it not too long ago, and it looked pretty cool. And then there's Nadia and the Lily. Don't know what that's about at all, but I think it'll be cool to read. Number 7 is called Montezuma's Daughter, which ought to be cool. And number 8 is Eric Bright Eyes, which was the novel I was telling you about earlier about the blue-eyed, blonde-haired Viking, which is about as different from any of the rest of these books as you could probably imagine, okay? So, I think that's it. I think I'm going to close down in this video because I think that's everything you need to know for now. Adventure fiction doesn't get more iconic than H. Rider Haggard. That's from the script. I wrote that. I added it to the script, James. And then, yeah, so stay tuned for more videos. I've got more coming about different events. I've got all kinds of cool stuff planned for both me and the audience here for 2026. All kinds of cool stuff coming up. You're not going to want to miss a moment of it. I promise you. Until our next video, I want to ask you to do two things. I want you to stay sexy and stay hydrated. And dang it, I forgot I wasn't allowed to say that anymore. I'm going to leave it in and hope that the editor doesn't catch it. But until the next video, I'm Randy Ray. This has been the Literate Texan. Thanks for watching.